Hey, Wicked Dick here, taking a look at the Tyler Toffoli trade, but from the perspective of what is Vancouver getting. So I did a video last night on the Toffoli trade to the Canucks, and based on the number of people watching it and where they were watching it from, I realized a bunch of people from Vancouver were taking a look at it, and all I was talking about was what are the Kings getting. So this is the other side of the game. If you are a Canucks fan, what are you getting in Tyler Toffoli? You're getting a good player. I personally think the Canucks maybe overpaid a little bit here, potentially a lot if he doesn't resign in Vancouver. But this isn't like you picked up a bum. Tyler Toffoli is a guy who can definitely bring some secondary scoring, sometimes some initial scoring, if you will. His goals, he's a lot of people will say, "Oh, he's a 30-goal scorer." He did it once. It was a great year, don't get me wrong. But he's really more like a 20 to 24 goal scorer a year, something like that. He's a guy who sometimes doesn't look that impressive on the ice. He's not like a blinding speedster or anything, but he has some slick hands. And, depending on how his shooting is going, he can get really streaky. He can really, fill the net. If you watch the outdoor game at the Air Force Academy recently, he had the hat trick. That's kind of the way that he plays. Now he may go 3 or 4 games, 5 or 6 games with no scoring at all, but then suddenly he'll pump in a bunch of goals. He's a good two-way player. He'll play the full 200 feet, so he's not a liability in defensive zone. People have just kind of said that he's physical. I don't really see that, but he's savvy. He's smart. And I think that what you're going to get is somebody who, when he comes to Vancouver, is going to play really well because all the Kings veterans are kind of sick of playing for the Kings. It doesn't really have anything to do with LA. It's just, the window closed on the cup runs and the team has been bad. So for instance, Toffoli last year had, I think, 13 goals for the season, which is a pretty low number. But that was the season when the Kings just completely imploded. It was like, the illusion ended and they realized, okay, we're bad. We're really bad. And the veterans had a very difficult time dealing with it. And so the team just completely imploded. We had your old coach come in, Willie Desjardins. And and that was a mess. Willie is not spoken of highly in Los Angeles. I don't know how you feel about him in Vancouver, but so it was just a complete and total mess. This year, Toffoli's on track for about 25 goals. It is a contract year for him, so you have to take that with a little grain of salt. But traditionally, he's 20, 24 goals in that range. So he's a very solid player. Looking at the lines for Vancouver today, it looked like they were going to have him on the first line. Yeah, I mean, he can play first line. To me, he's more of a second line wing. But he's a kid that can definitely help you. He will definitely, provide some quality scoring, particularly if you put him on a line with Pearson. He knows Pearson. He played in LA with Pearson on a line they call the 70s line. Jeff Carter was the center. This was before Carter was hurt. And they were pretty dynamic. To be honest, they were pretty much the best line on the Kings for a couple of years there. But then Carter unfortunately got hurt. I think a ligament or a tendon in his ankle, got cut by a skate, and he's just never been the same player. So anyways, you're definitely getting something positive here. I didn't mean to make it sound like in the other video that you weren't getting anything. Toffoli is somebody who, the bigger the game, the better he tends to play. I expect him to come out of the gates right away with Vancouver playing well, because he's got to be happy to be, in the race for the playoffs. After the last few years with the Kings, when it's been pretty grim. So all in all, you're getting a good guy. Also, his experience, he was a vital part of the 2014 team that won the Cup, solid second line player. His nickname is Cupcake because the Kings, I don't know if it was the Kings, but a bakery in LA was making cupcakes. For some reason, started putting his face on them. So he gets the nickname Cupcake. Let's see, weird facts. He's very good friends with Milan Lucic of the Flames. So for whatever that's worth. But anyways, you got to be happy with him. You should be really, pretty solid, or pretty happy with the trade from the perspective of what you're getting now. It's just, did you pay too much when you look at the future compensation? And I don't follow Vancouver enough to know what's really going on up there. Is Jim Benning safe as a GM? Is he in trouble and he made this trade? Seems kind of weird that you're losing players to significant injuries and he went out and added Toffoli. I don't know. From the outside, I would think Vancouver maybe wanted to wait a year or two. I mean, you've got some great young players and some real talent coming up. but I didn't really feel like you guys were ready to make a run at the Cup this year. But what do I know? I don't follow the Canucks, so I may be completely wrong. But I do like your team. I think you got some real nice talent. And frankly, a lot of us Kings fans point to your team and your young talent and say, see, that's what we need. But at the end of the day, Tyler Toffoli, very solid trade, very solid pickup. You'll like him, and he'll definitely produce. So anyways, if you have any questions, comments, post them below. Cheers.